There's a toothpaste commercial, a Yakuza clan war, bloody chaos, Japanese Bruce Lee, and a kill count that'll give John Wick a run for his money. Hey guys, Popcorn Recap here. Today we'll be talking about a 2013 action dark comedy Japanese film called Why Don't You Play in Hell? Before we start, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, and of course subscribe to the channel if you dig the summary. The movie starts with a Japanese toothpaste commercial. We then meet our crazy wannabe filmmakers called F-bombers, making movies at a young age. While filming, the young director Hirata senses something more interesting nearby. He checks it out and finds a group of delinquents duking it out in an alley. He goes to have a closer look, and his film crew, Miki and Tanigawa, follow him. They start filming the brawl, and one of the delinquents, named Sasuke, notices them. Sasuke confronts Hirata, and after getting annoyed, he punches him in the face. Surprisingly, Hirata gets up unhurt and continues to direct the brawl. Confused, Sasuke and the rest of the delinquents go back to what they do best, opening up a can of whoop-ass. The fighting stops after a truck tries passing through the road. After that, Sasuke becomes friends with Hirata and becomes part of his film crew. Next, we see Muto Taizo together with his mistress Junko. Muto suddenly hears a loud noise nearby. Alarmed, he checks and finds it's only the workers he hired. As it turns out, Muto is jumpy because his rival, the Kitagawa clan, is out for his blood. The young girl from the commercial earlier returns home and enters a blood-filled room. She slips and slides towards a wounded Ikigami in the next room. After locking eyes with the man, the girl gets up and orders the Yakuza to clean up the mess. Ikigami can do nothing but stare at her in disbelief. Meanwhile, a woman drenched in blood walks into a police booth while carrying a knife. She gently puts it on the policeman's desk and demands that he make a phone call. We then learn that the woman is Shitsue, the wife of Muto Taizo, the head of the Muto clan. At the police station later, Detective Kimura talks to Muto about the incident with his wife. We then learn that the girl from the toothpaste commercial is his daughter, Mitsuko. A flashback of what happened to Shizue then plays. It turns out that while Shizue is cooking, the Kitagawa clan enters the house planning to kill Muto. She decides to deal with the intruders, but one of them escapes. Shizue chases the survivor and stabs him to death, treating a nearby crowd to a shower. Back in the present, Muto leaves the police station in a hurry and heads towards the Kitagawa clan's headquarters. Meanwhile, the wounded Ikigami reports their failed attack to his boss. He then meets Hirata and the gang. After declaring to make Sasuke the Bruce Lee of Japan, Hirata starts filming the wounded Yakuza. Ikigami tries stopping them at first, but agrees after being buttered up by the crew. He limps towards a nearby corner while singing Mitsuko's song for the toothpaste commercial. Meanwhile, a young boy watches the news about Mitsuko's commercial going off the air because of the Yakuza incident. After being asked if she's his girlfriend, the boy gets a panic attack. At the police station, Kimura happily tells the captured Shizue that Mitsuko's commercial went off the air. Back to the F-bombers, they go to a local theater, which turns out to be their so-called base, and meet their patron, Ono. Hirata introduces Sasuke to their patron. Hirata then gives Sasuke the complete Bruce Lee starter kit, and the group leaves to film the movie. Muto arrives at the Kitagawa clan's headquarters and destroys them like a boss. Later that night, the F-bombers celebrate their first filming session with Sasuke. They end the night with Hirata praying to a shrine to the god of movies. Meanwhile, Muto makes the Kitagawa's clan's leader dig his own grave, gives him a pillow, and puts him into eternal sleep. Now that's how you end a rival clan. Ikigami learns about the clan's defeat and sleeps with his woman to forget the loss. Sometime later, Ikigami calls Muto and asks for a truce. Muto agrees because it makes him look cool. Ikigami becomes the new leader of the Kitagawa clan. His first order of business is to abandon Western clothing and revert to wearing kimonos. 10 years later, the F-bombers watch their pilot movie in a now abandoned theater. While the rest of the group admire their work, Sasuke looks disappointed. It's like he must be tired of living. Meanwhile, Muto prepares for Shitsue's release from prison in 10 days. In the Muto clan's base, a young woman is bound to a chair and heavily guarded. Moments later, the Kitagawa clan's attack begins. The young woman gets free and escapes by jumping out the window. While running away, she finds a young man named Koji calling in a phone booth. She enters the booth and asks him to be her lover for a day. She gives Koji 100,000 yen as payment and uses him to escape her pursuers. Kitagawa arrives at the prison in a bad mood. It turns out that the young woman earlier is his daughter Mitsuko. He meets up with Shitsue and promises that Mitsuko's movie will be ready when she gets out of prison. After the visit, Muto learns about the Kitagawa clan's attack. His men are so nervous they even start shooting at a cat. Muto doesn't care about the attack and focuses on finishing Mitsuko's movie. Meanwhile, Koji continues tagging along with Mitsuko. He falls in love with her and becomes her pet, like the good virgin that he is. Muto visits the movie set later and he fails to convince his director friend about Mitsuko's movie role. Mitsuko and Koji arrive at the apartment of Yoshimura. Koji pretends to be a delivery serviceman and tricks Yoshimura into opening the door. Mitsuko menacingly enters the apartment, scaring Yoshimura and making him beg for his life. She asks Koji to hold Yoshimura and asks why he ran away from her. She then breaks a bottle and makes Yoshimura eat the broken pieces while singing her toothpaste song. During this time, Koji realizes who Mitsuko is. It turns out that Koji was the young boy that had a panic attack 10 years ago because of Mitsuko. Mitsuko then kisses Yoshimura, forcing him to swallow the pieces of broken glass until he dies. And you wonder why he ran away. Koji can do nothing but look confused as he watches this erotic and bloody mess. I guess he's wondering if he should be scared or aroused. I mean, I'd be confused too. Just saying. When Yoshimura dies, the two leave the apartment as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, Ikegami sings the toothpaste song while marveling at Mitsuko's poster. Ugh, here we go again. His henchman gives him more pictures of Mitsuko and he goes full crazy. Back at the abandoned movie theater, a fight between Hirata and Sasuke breaks out. It seems Sasuke is tired of Hirata's bullshit and decides to let out his frustrations. Sasuke leaves the Bruce Lee starter kit behind and goes to work. Realizing who Mitsuko is, Koji gives the 100,000 yen back and asks for a fair chance to be her lover. Shortly after that, the Muto clan captures them. Meanwhile, the Kitagawa clan gets wind of an attack from the Muto clan and prepares for war. Muto arrives at his headquarters and holds a meeting with his men. Failing to convince his director friend, he decides to take matters into his own hands. With the help of his men, the Muto clan sets out to make Mitsuko's movie for Shitsue. While that happens, Kimura spies on the Muto clan and wonders what they're doing. Mitsuko faces her father and gets punished. She then stands her ground and expresses her frustrations of doing small-time roles. Muto directs his attention to Koji, and before he gets to kill him, Mitsuko steps in. She makes up a lie about Koji being the director she wants for her movie. Koji, who's out of options, goes with the flow. After hearing this, Muto orders his men to prepare all the equipment for the movie. As trucks filled with the equipment arrive, Kimura gets confused about the Muto clan's plans. Later, Koji gets overwhelmed by his newfound role and decides to escape. He gets caught in front of the shrine where Hirata prayed 10 years ago. He finds Hirata's written prayer and celebrates his salvation. Koji and Mitsuko get in touch with Hirata and tell him about their plans. Excited, Hirata accepts and goes with them to film the movie. He stops by the abandoned theater to get the Bruce Lee starter pack and goes to Sasuke's workplace. He tells Sasuke about the plan and asks him to come. To prove Sasuke's skills, Hirata makes him fight 2 Yakuza men. After the fight, Sasuke leaves while promising his boss that he'll pay for the damages he caused. Before meeting up with the rest of the Muto clan, Koji gets handed a box of cocaine for safekeeping. Later, Koji has to give a speech in front of the Yakuza, but is too nervous. Mitsuko does it for him instead. Koji then reveals the truth to Hirata and makes him ecstatic. He introduces his crew to the Yakuza and gets familiar with the equipment team in the process. Next, Hirata writes a script in 10 seconds after Mitsuko says she doesn't like the one her father has in mind. Hirata decides to talk with the Kitagawa clan and asks for their cooperation. Hirata meets up with Ikegami and the two recognize each other. Ikegami agrees to the plan, and when Hirata returns to the Muto clan, he gets praised as a genius. Hirata then decides that instead of using guns, they'll go full Japanese and use katanas. All the filming equipment gets set up at the Kitagawa base and the filming starts. After the intro scenes get filmed, the two clans prepare to clash for the main battle scene. Tension fills the air as the parties wait for Hirata's signal, and when he gives it, chaos erupts. Unfortunately, the lights go out, and everyone gets forced to reset the battle scene. Koji trips when the lights return, and the cocaine spills all over him. The Yakuza clans resume fighting, and the F-bombers continue filming the chaos. Koji also joins the fight, but the cocaine starts to kick in. He starts hallucinating about Mitsuko. Shortly after that, Ikigami and Muto admire Mitsuko's combat prowess. Suddenly, a Kitagawa henchman sends Muto's head flying in the air. Mitsuko witnesses her father's death and goes berserk. Koji continues snorting cocaine while thirsting over Mitsuko. As he approaches the love of his life, his arm gets cut off. Hearing Koji's wails of pain, Mitsuko comes to him. The two share a kiss, and Koji gets a sword buried in his head. Mitsuko goes after the culprit and gets ambushed. In one smooth swing, she sends the ambushers' heads flying. Koji limps towards Mitsuko and falls on the ground to die with a smile on his face. Meanwhile, Hirata continues to film Sasuke in action. Ikigami fights Sasuke and after being impressed with his skills, leaves to take a break. He seems to mistake him for someone named Jackie, unfortunately. Ikigami takes his break near the sound engineer, who then shoots him as revenge for Muto's death. The Yakuza fighters hear the gunshot and all hell breaks loose. They drop their katanas and start spraying each other with some cold lead. Miki and Tanigawa grab high-powered guns out of thin air and start indiscriminately shooting everybody while filming. Both of them die with a high passion for their work. Meanwhile, Mitsuko sees Ikigami and slides towards him in a pool of blood like 10 years ago. Their swords clash and they start singing the toothpaste song. Kimura then arrives with a team of policemen. Kimura finds Mitsuko and Ikigami, and the room falls silent. Suddenly, a sword cuts through the walls and Koji appears. Jesus Christ, how is this guy still alive? But Koji gets shot by the police, and Mitsuko loses it. Showing aggression towards the police, she gets sprayed with bullets and dies beside Koji. Ikigami goes berserk after seeing Mitsuko die, and you know what? That's right, the police spray bullets at him too. After that, the police go to every room and sprays everyone like Oprah giving presents. The police make their way to the room where Hirata is filming Sasuke. They waste no time and offer a bullet bath for them too. No plot armor for you guys, sorry. Amidst the bloodbath, Hirata survives and starts collecting the camera films. He escapes the chaotic place and runs screaming in the rain like a village idiot. A scene of the old theater then plays and it's full of people. It shows the success of Hirata's movie. We then see everyone alive and celebrating the movie's success. Unfortunately, it's just Hirata's hallucinations out of his madness. It turns out he's still running and screaming like a madman in the rain. The film ends with the actual movie crew saying, "Cut."
Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.